Hello. We're back again. I'm all wore out. Not running on the treadmill, man. I gotta stop doing that right before I go to work. I'm like, I'll get in shape. I know what I'll do. I'll wear myself out right before I have to go to work in 8 hours. Bad idea. You get tired. And then you go to work tired. I mean, granted, you get like that pump going on, like that your heart's pounding faster, you got your heart rate elevated and stuff, and that's all cool. So you don't really feel sleepy. But if I gotta do actual work, I'm gonna be useless. More useless than I usually am. So, today I watched Die Hard 2 for the podcast. Much inferior sequel to Die Hard 1, although here's the thing with Die Hard 2. So the people who made it, like, they saw Die Hard 1 and they're like, we like all this stuff. Like, he's in the air vents and he's like getting hurt and like he's running around and you know, he's like gotta rescue his wife again, but she's doing something off and they like, but they just sort of took like the shell of that and stuck it on top of another movie. And it says a lot for Die Hard 1 that it's still a pretty decent movie to copy those elements. But there's so much less, I don't know, less human element in Die Hard 2. Like in Die Hard 2, John McClane is not a character. Right? He is just a stick figure being moved around the plot as, you know, the writer demands. You never feel like he at one point he says, I hate flying. And you get that, like, he's kind of interested in his wife not dying, and that's it. Those are your character motivations for John McClane. Wants his wife to stay alive, doesn't like to fly. Now let's have him go around shooting everybody. It doesn't work. It does not work as well as it does in the first one. Plus, like, here's the thing, like, in the first one, Holly McClane, his wife, actually did stuff. Like, it wasn't that she was taking out terrorists or whatever, but it felt relevant to the plot. It felt like that her and John were sharing the same space and dealing with the same thing in different ways. In Die Hard 2, despite the fact that she is on one of the planes that could crash if John doesn't make it, like, the stuff she's doing matters nothing to the movie. The whole thing with the reporter and her taking him out and, like, her just sitting up there, I understand why they have it, right? I get why it's there, because it's to make you feel like the stakes are real for John. It's like, oh, this is the person that's gonna die if he doesn't rescue her. But you never see them together. Like, there's never a moment when you feel the connection between them. At least for me, it was never like, they have them talk on the phone one time at the beginning. And it doesn't hook you enough to feel like this is serious now. Like, I mean, they blow up the planes and they have the gunfights and people chasing around and stuff blows up and it's cool. It's cool enough, you know, to be a passable action film, but they missed all the stuff that made the first one work. They missed this, you know, John McClane being a human being. First of all, he's not like, in this one, he's just going after everybody like a big hero. And in the first one, you felt like maybe he could die at some point. Like, now they have him, like, trapped in a bullet with people riddling the bullet with, or the bullet, trapped in a cockpit of a plane, is what I meant to say. People shooting it up with bullets, throwing grenades in there, and you're like, how's he gonna get out of this one? Yeah. Which, it feels like that's a higher stakes moment than when he's hanging in that air shaft in the first one, right? Like, the first one, he's just hanging on an air shaft. From an action sequence point of view, it's much less interesting. And yet, in that first movie, you're like, ah, he's gonna fall! He's gonna fall! No! No, don't fall! Ah, he fell! I caught it! Oh, he fell! But he made it! Right, like, and when you have him in the cockpit and he just like blows out, you're like, yeah, John McClane's a cool dude. There's none of that, like, on the edge of your seat tension. that the first one conjures up with something simple like hanging by a strap from a gun that you've placed wedged sideways in an air vent in a really tall air vent shaft, trying not to die. That's all I'm saying. The first one was better. Deal with your characters. Focus on the characters, make them feel real, and then we'll empathize with them, even if it's something simple or silly or small. Making the action bigger does not make the stakes higher. You gotta get closer. You gotta get closer to the characters. That makes the stakes higher. Albert has spoken.